welcome back, welcome back. All right, so let's welcome Dr. Faith B.Yisrael, Deputy Chief Secretary, and of course, Secretary of Health and Family Development. Happy New Year. Good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning, Health, Wellness, and Social Protection. I know the
All
names.
right, okay.
Yes.
All right.
Good morning. Happy New Year, everybody. It's wonderful seeing you guys. It's wonderful being on Blessed 2024 to everyone who's listening, who's hearing.
All right, Dr. Faith, we were slapped with this sad news, I put it that way, because it really shocked me that the first Chief Secretary, Mr. Hochoy Alexander Charles, passed on All Year's Day, All Year's morning, basically. Your reaction?
It's been extremely sad. Uh, Unfortunately, because we knew of his illness and we knew that he was really struggling for a while, I had kind of prepared myself for it. But when it happened, it still really, really did hit us because I've been thinking, wow, the island has definitely lost one of our best, one of our greatest. And I personally feel like I've lost someone who has contributed significantly to my life because of every interaction I've had with him, every single interaction I've had with him, I have learned tremendous amounts about everything, about so many parts of life. So the island has really lost a great one. And yeah,
All right,
it's
well, I
just
want
one
to
of
ask
those.
you quickly before I hand you over to Mr. Cox, the whole question of how do we, in the first way, what is fitting a send-off for this first Chief Secretary in your view?
Well, it has to be a full state send off.
Excellent.
As as I said to his one of his family members when I spoke to them Saturday. Um, this is not the kind of conversation that we wanted to have. As a matter of fact, we were making other types of preparations for him on behalf of the family, and there's nothing less than a full rights because he is when we think of the Tobago House of Assembly and when we think of the foundation that the Tobago House of Assembly has had, we can think of others, yes, but we definitely must think of Mr. Hochoy Charles.
And when we look at some of his gestures and some of his contributions, his statements, they are countless. But what are some of the things that you would have taken or pattern off of Mr. Charles during your political aspirations and your political contributions, Dr. Faith B.Yisrael?
Certainly. When you spoke to him, I think those of us who actually knew him in person was able to understand when he says stuff and when he says stuff publicly, even what seems like a chastisement or a slap on the arm kind of thing. When you speak to him, he was soft in his delivery of what he meant. And let me give an example. One of the last conversations that I had with him, and this was when we were having, we he was part of our council in terms of training for our members and working with our administrators and that kind of stuff. We were in meetings with them for the period. And he mentioned something. He said, and when Olia was in the 6-6, Olia didn't listen to my counsel. He didn't listen to what I was saying. And during the lunch break, I went over to him and I said, Mr. Charles, I really can't even remember what you were telling us during 6-6. Explain to me what was your advice? And he said, Dr. Faith, if Olia had done this and this, and this is what I was trying to say. And I'm like, wow, that made a lot of sense. No, it didn't happen. I don't even think I heard when he said those things. Um, and it possibly should not have happened in that way because we would have now been responsible for, part of the debacle that happened during the 6-6 if we had formed the executive. But it was great to be able to hear him explain exactly what he was saying, the thought process behind what he was saying, and understanding why what he was saying made sense. And I learned that in many instances, we really should not go on the public persona or the public perception of who people are, because every interaction I have had with him on a personal level, on a one-on-one level, has been kind and loving and soft words and wise counsel. And that I don't think many Tobagonians have had the ability to experience that side of him.
Interesting. And what persons would have been privy to is when he would have made his public appearances, whether it be on set, whether it be on a platform or so on. And he would always emphasize on it is right here in the Constitution. And he would always walk around as a walking encyclopedia. He had a wealth of knowledge, especially in times of controversy. Persons would reach out to him to explain certain things in terms of course, we condolences to his family. We lost a knowledgeable figure. But in terms of you, in your political prowess, in your political aspirations, as you continue to lead, that is a big loss, a significant loss in terms of getting that assistance in the form of Hochoy Charles, explaining certain things. Although it's in the Constitution and it's written, he would have had a way of explaining and boasting about his wealth of knowledge and happy to translate and disseminate certain information to you. How would you navigate without Mr. Charles going forward, Dr. Phil B.Yisrael?
Well, what this has shown us is there are times where he has said things, and you look at it and you're like, wait, where that is? And you really go and he just rattled it off like ABC, and you really go to the Constitution or you go to the Tobago House of Assembly Act, and he is right. It is right there. Um, I think the lesson there is that we probably need to spend a little bit more time learning the legislation. Yes, the Tobago House of Assembly Act is not the best in the world, but it is actually quite superior to many others. And it was designed that way because of the work that they did back then to ensure that the Tobago House of Assembly was a special kind of political creature. For me, it is really going back and just sometimes just reading the legislation, just reading the stuff that's there. Because in many instances, as he had proven time and time again, the answers were right there. We just didn't know where to look for it, or we just overlooked that part when we were reading it before. So it really, really is encouraging us to take some time to go back to the foundation documents that we have for the THE and go and stand on those, because even though they may not be the best, nothing is the best, they were actually quite good. And I am proud to be part of an organization that had a man like Mr. Hochoy Charles at the helm at one point. And to be honest, he continued providing that kind of support to us. And it is a great loss, but so be it.
All right, so it's a great loss, and of course, we are taking your word that the state funeral they will have, and first communication with the family, given that the date for the funeral was announced, given I got the information and I shared it, it's on Thursday, all right, and so we expect a state funeral.
So, so the Tobago House of Assembly, now I am pulling back because I do not know what the exact connotation of a state funeral means in terms of the absolute legality. The Tobago House of Assembly, we have said to the family that we will provide every and all that is necessary for the funeral for Mr. Charles, which is what we also said as it relates to his care and what should have happened after he was discharged from the hospital and all of that. So the Tobago House of Assembly is going to be responsible for all of that. I do not want to get hung up on using the word state funeral when I am not 100% sure what that exactly means in the larger context of what a state funeral is, but we are hoping to send off Mr. Charles in the most fitting way that the Tobago House of Assembly can.
Right, one of his grievances is the platinum water that is tapped, and he would speak to that every time we have a conversation here. and that's in Bloody Bay. And given what he had gone through to find this water, and he said water will sell more than any other liquid in the world, and it came to pass that we are all buyers or consumers of bottled water. Is there wasting away, Dr. Faith? Is there any plans? Have there been any conversation to utilize that resource as to bring in? And he gave us the figures that could be earned with exporting this water. Given that he's passed now and honoring his memory and a legacy, is that part of the conversation, or would it be part, given maybe not has been, now that we are talking about it, is there any opportunity to have that be part of going forward as to honoring his memory?
Well, one of the things we recognize is that many of the plans that Mr. Charles had, 20 odd years ago, have still not been materialized. And the issue with the water was one of them. And even how the networks that we have for the island, the fact that the monument up at Signal Hill, the infamous ring bang, was basically the beginning of the jazz festival, and how that has not been honored the way it should have. There are so many things that he spoke about, so many things that should have happened that have not happened yet. And we will continue having the discussions. We will continue looking at the plans to see where they were 20 years ago, to see if we need to improve them, to see if we could possibly partner with a private entity to do some of these things, because we've evolved and we recognize that having such a large government and having government be responsible for everything may not be the best thing for the island. So the issues with the water, the issues with so many of the other plans that he has, we are looking at them, and we will look to see how we could implement them in the best way possible, which may not necessarily mean that the state does it, but we partner with a private entity or so to push it forward.
All right. All right. If there's in closing, what would you want to say to the family and the rest of Tobago and the passing of this icon, political icon?
Yeah. Directed to the family specifically, you have lost a father, you've lost a husband, you've lost an uncle, you've lost somebody who we probably don't even know, because you've had a very different experience, or you've had a personal experience the way we would not have had a personal experience with him. I want to say to all of them, sincerest condolences from the Tobago House of Assembly. We really, really, particularly this administration, we really, really looked up to him as a father figure, honestly, a father figure. And that is why, we would have been able to have even the public chastisement, because sometimes that is what daddy had to do. And we love him, as I actually said to one of his children over the weekend. I personally love him because I would not have gotten to where I am here. I was actually one of the individuals who got one of the scholarships that they were giving out how many years ago, and I would not have been here having this degree if it were not for him and his
Wow.
foresight for the island. So I personally love the man, because of his contributions to me personally, but definitely the entire island, the entire Tobago House of Assembly has lost a great one, and sincerest condolences from those of us who are still here, trying to look up to him, trying to fit in his shoes. Sincerest
All right,
condolences.
I hate to mix this part of this sad story that Tobago is facing, but I just want you to put on your Deputy Chief Secretary's hat now and speak to that whole question of the first murder in Tobago, and of course the one before. So it's 2 days of murders that we would have had on the island, unfortunately. Just talk to us about, that painful reality that we are facing, that young people are killing themselves.
And young people are killing themselves, and coincidentally, that is actually the name of the song that my significant other, that my partner sang. We killing myself, Trinidad and Tobago. The old people say, "Is now when leaf drop, it does rot." What we are seeing now is the long-term effect of us as Tobagonians not continuing what we held onto as Tobagonians before. There was a point where we used to map anybody who knew come in the community. We had to know who they're from, where they come from, who you're related to, what you're doing here. I remember having to walk down the street, and if I did not tell Miss So good morning, by the time I reached home, my mother or my grandmother or my aunt already knew that I passed Miss So on the street, and I didn't tell her good morning. We have gotten to the point where our parents now are the ones going to our schools and cussing up the teachers and that kind of thing. And so because the shift has happened in the society, we can't be surprised that the shift has happened in the society. Unfortunately, it is causing our brothers and sisters, our uncles, our best friends to die. Um, but we have to ask ourselves, why is that the case? And when we ask ourselves why is that the case, we have to then ask ourselves, what can we do at this point? It is what, January 2nd, to help make that shift and turn it around again. What do we have to do? When we see the young boys on the block, and in many instances they are trying to talk to us, maybe we could give them a listening ear, because a lot of them are hurt. A lot of them have experienced significant hurts and they don't know how to express it. When we have our young people coming to us and running to us and telling us something happened in school, let's give it the listening ear and try to figure out exactly what's going on and why that is happening. Let us pray, but the praying by itself is not going to do it. The praying by itself is not going to do it. It helps us to allow our inner being to get the strength that is needed to make some of the hard decisions or to walk the difficult walks. But the praying alone isn't going to do it. We need to really, really reach out and to really be a part of our communities and to really go back to being the Mako and go back to ensuring that when so pass, you talk to them and you get a sense of who that person is and where they come from and where they're going. And we need to get back to that, because that is the Tobago I remember, and that is the Tobago I would like to see again in 2024 and beyond. But we could do it. I think
Okay.
if we collectively take individual responsibility, we can do it.
Excellent. All right, Dr. Faith, we want to thank you for your presence and your inspiring words there, lastly, to the young people. And we can do it as a people. There's nothing too hard for us to tackle. And again, all the best to you for 2024 and beyond.
Thank you, and blessings to you, blessings to the entire community at Tobago Channel 5. 2024 is going to be a good year. I can
Of
feel it.
course
It's
it
going
is.
to
All
be a
right,
good year.
good. All right, so with that, we go for a break. When we come back, we speak with Dr. Faith, Dr. B.Yisrael Angus, and of course, we'll get her take on the Hochoy Charles passing. Yeah? So let's go for the break. See you then.